have had a busy show for you, and it's not stopping yet. We have Governor Raimondo in studio, followed by Speaker of the House Nicholas Mattiello. Just talked a little cheesesteaks, little Philly-New England rivalry, but Tilly's here is celebrating their one-year anniversary. We're going to tack back to news and politics here now. We have attorney Steve Del Sesto, the receiver in the St. Joseph's bankruptcy proceedings. I appreciate your coming in to give us an update on what's been going on.
How are you?
So where do things stand? You have a lot of people watching right now who are looking for an update as to where things are at.
Well, at this point, we are still in the investigative stage of the case, and unfortunately, that will probably continue for at least another 3 to 6 months. As many people have known who have been following this, we've run into some delays in terms of getting some documents. I'm happy to say it seems that we are on track now, although that has resulted in just the past, I'd say, 30 to 45 days with us receiving literally hundreds of thousands of documents. So now the task has been and continues to be reviewing all those documents. And it's that review that will result in our ability and Attorney Wistow and his office's ability to make a recommendation as to who the potential targets are for litigation, and the likelihood of any success and what that success might be in terms of recovery.
And why has it been so difficult getting these documents? I mean, we hear about the Catholic diocese that claims that they were not involved or had any responsibility, so why is it so difficult to get documents from both them and the Attorney General's office?
All I can go on in terms of the difficulty has been what's been filed with the court. There have been many arguments that have been made as to why there's been a delay and why it takes so long. I'm at least happy to say that the judge in the case, I think prudently, heard the arguments but wasn't fully accepting of all of those arguments, and set some very hard and I'm sure that everybody would think aggressive deadlines. And it's amazing what a court order will do in terms of getting a response. But you know, there are a lot of documents that they have. Everybody has to take their positions, and I understand that. This is, although we are not in litigation yet, it is clear that that's the task of Max and his office, is to eventually get there, possibly, at least with some parties. And so the groups like the diocese and Prospect and the Attorney General's office in St. Joe's and all of them, they are apparently making sure that they don't take anything that they think would be a misstep. Now,
of course, as you're the receiver, you have retirees here who are looking to you to be able to help them with some action here as this bankruptcy is upon us. Are there ways to think outside the box in terms of looking at getting all these documents and moving forward, but I'm sure you're looking at every avenue possible to try to be able to save the pensions for these pensioners.
Yes, we are, and actually this entire case seems to be outside the box. There has never been a case like this that I have found in the country. I've spoken to people in different states who are very, very interested in watching very carefully what happens here because it has never happened elsewhere. So because of that, I, as a receiver, Max and his team as counsel to me, there isn't a lot of precedent out there that we can turn to and say a court did this or a group did that under these same circumstances. We haven't been there. So we are looking everywhere that we possibly can, and we are entertaining discussions with everybody that we can that we believe could potentially result in recovery. And so that includes not only the parties we just mentioned that are I guess the typical players that have been involved with this pension over the years, but also federal agencies and things of that nature, just beginning the dialogue to see what can possibly happen.
So, as you mentioned, potential talking with national folks that, again, just very initial stages. But again, this is groundbreaking. I mean, there's really no precedent.
Unfortunately, it's groundbreaking.
So let's talk a little bit. I mean, is the timeline still for adjusting pension payments what you've been discussing with retirees all along, or is that still in flux?
As of right now, the court in, as you might recall, St. Joe's had asked the court to make an adjustment. I believe it was on October 11th. At a hearing around that time, I advised the court that I did not think that the amount of time that I had been in place, it would be prudent for me to do that. So we kicked it out. The judge allowed it to be kicked out until sometime we had said after the first of the year.
Yep.
And in that discussion, February was really discussed.
Mm.
So as of right now, it is anticipated that there will be a hearing. Actually, I should put it this way: to him within the first week of February. So I'm close. But my recommendation to the court hinges on a number of things. I have, at the courts, with the court's authority, I've assembled a group of pension holders that form an advisory committee, and we have been meeting on a weekly basis to discuss. They represent what I would consider to be a pretty good cross-section of the entire 2,729. And so it's been a discussion, open discussion, candid, about different ideas and different things that people are concerned about, different things people think might be helpful in terms of them getting on board with either an adjustment or something. Obviously, I'm speaking to Max and his team and getting their input and advice based on everything that they're looking at and what they think potential recovery may be, which it factors into everything. Discussions with the federal organizations, and also, as is obvious, just the financial health of this pension, because we need to make sure if we're trying to protect the pension, we can't run out of money or get to a point where we're going down the drain too quickly before we're able to get a benefit from anything that Max's office may pursue or anything else that may be out there. So all of those things, and it's an enormous task. I think about it all the time, every night. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I write things on my nightstand and explore them in the morning. But the long and the short of it is there is a hearing. What I'm going to ask the judge to do at that time, I'm not sure. There is a possibility I'll be asking the judge for some adjustment, but there's as equal of a possibility that I may be asking the judge to put that off, and at this point I just don't know what I'm going to be doing.
Well, let's asked about how difficult it is to get documents. You've sort of been put behind the 8 ball a little bit, if you will, because of the reluctance from entities to be able to turn over their documents. Now you have a data dump. Is that an argument from a legal perspective to say, we're not along the time frame we thought we were supposed to be? I can't be held to the same standard if they're not going to be held to the same standards.
And that's exactly the case, is that like I said, in early October, I had said, I'm not ready yet. I need more information. And we asked the court at that time to expand my power to include subpoena power. At the time, I was a temporary, and I wouldn't have, arguably may not have had that power, and the judge gave it to me. Well, we used it. We subpoenaed documents, and those subpoenas went out. I believe the first one went out, if it wasn't late October, it was certainly early November. And now we're here late January. And it's been a few weeks since we've been receiving the documents, but it took about 45 days to get that spigot substantially turned on. So that 45 days is a delay to me. In addition, it's much easier, as you can imagine, to review documents if they come in more on a rolling basis than if we get all these boxes in a compressed time frame.
We see that oftentimes in the media. You see it oftentimes.
That's right. It's.
Is it just a tactic, if you will?
I'm not saying it's a tactic here, but it is typically employed as a tactic.
Yes.
But because we're getting them from all different parties, though, as well, it's not just reviewing a set from party A. It's, like I said, hundreds of thousands of bankers' boxes, not the small boxes, the big, large ones. That have all been delivered to Max's office, and they are taking up space in his office, and every page needs to be touched.
Yep.
We need to go through everything because you don't want to miss something. Everything's important.
So here we have, again, these 2,700 retirees. Their livelihoods are at stake here. This is as personal an issue as there comes. We see a reluctance from the AG's office. We see a reluctance from the diocese. Is there a sense of conscience do you get? Are they so mired in the legal that they can't express concern for these retirees if everyone's trying to disavow responsibility?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm not sure I actually can answer it because it requires me to get into their mind. But I will say that as a lawyer, because here I'm not a lawyer, but I am a lawyer, that you do have a tendency, sometimes the lawyers do. I can't speak for the clients in this case, but to get kind of caught up in the legal practice. And what should I do is much different than what do I have to do. And the question and the frustration that I've experienced that Max and his team have experienced and that the judge has expressed from the bench is that we don't really have time right now for the legal chess match. This is an important thing that's affecting a lot of people very substantially. The longer we wait, the more we become at risk.
Yep.
And we don't have the luxury of time. And so while I completely understand everybody needing to protect their legal rights, there are 2,729 people that need answers and need those quick, because it's not going to help if all the horses have run out after we are able to shut the gate.
Well, I know a bunch of those retirees are watching right now, looking for an update from you. Anything else you want to talk? I know you meet with the advisory board regularly, but anything else? Again, is it just the next step is this hearing at the end of February? Actually,
I guess I could give a few pieces. I'm having another town hall style meeting. As I'm sure you know, I've been doing that on a monthly basis. And that is both because I believe this process, especially in this context, needs to be completely transparent. And the pension holders deserve not only to know what's going on, but to be able to ask questions. Things come up every day. Ask those questions. So we're doing that next Monday.
Okay.
At Rhodes on the Patuxent. I have another advisory board meeting the Tuesday after that. And while the next hearing is technically scheduled for the end of February, it is likely there are a couple of things that are going on right now that I can't reveal at this point, but that I plan on filing within the next, I'd say, week to 10 days, that I would be seeking a hearing before the end of February. Not regarding so much the benefits and adjustments, anything like that, but other issues that need to be, I think, need to be addressed in this case.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll get those from you, Steve, letting, again, the pensioners know the situation at hand here. I appreciate your taking the time to come in this very busy Friday afternoon. Steve Del Sesto, thanks so much. I'll let you go off, okay?
Thank you.
Take care. Steve Del Sesto, the attorney who is the receiver in the St. Joseph's bankruptcy proceedings, wanted him to come in here to provide an update. He's in constant contact with retirees, and there's a hearing scheduled for the end of February. But as he alluded to, having conversations outside the state of Rhode Island to see what could possibly be done in this instance here again, but that hearing at the end of February, as you heard from Steve,